All right, what's going on, guys? Graham G.S. Matthews here with BleacherReport.com, and ahead of Survivor Series this coming Sunday, November 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern on Peacock. Today, we're talking to the man herself, the Raw Women's Champion, representing Monday nights this coming Sunday, Becky Lynch. Becky, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for joining me. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, and no better time with Survivor Series on Sunday. Obviously, you and Charlotte Flair battle the champions. Anyone who has followed your career knows of the history between you and Charlotte, many battles in the past. What's going to make this matchup different on Sunday from the many matches you guys have had in years past?
I think it's a renewed disdain for each other. I think that's what's going to make it different. I think before there was always tension, and now it just feels like a different level. Like there was something boiling under the surface for a long time, and that was going to come to a head. And maybe people didn't see what happened. People didn't see what happened. Some people saw what happened. Obviously, the whole world didn't see what happened, and it was heated, and we all know that it was heated, and there's many different versions of the story that are out there, but now it's one of those things where I don't know how Sunday's going to go. I don't know, and I think the audience doesn't know how it's going to go. I know that there's going to be a lot of animosity and a lot of spite from both sides, and we're going to be out there trying to prove something, and to the whole world and to ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this match exciting too, because obviously any match you guys have had over the last couple of years, 5-6 years, dating back to NXT, has always been great. But like you said, there's a different layer of animosity going into this match on Sunday. You mentioned it right there. You've talked about it before, the heated altercation, stuff like that. Would you call that like the turning point in your guys' relationship? Or like you said, the tension has always been there, but when would you pinpoint the exact turning point was in that relationship between you and Charlotte Flair?
I would say, well, going back, I would say it was SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
But even before then, I think she saw the writing on the wall that that SummerSlam was going to be a contentious event, and that whatever happened, I was on the rise. I was getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and people were supporting me more and more, and it was going to push me into a different stratosphere, which it has. And she wasn't about that. She didn't like it, and she could feel it. And then the friendship dynamic was going to change, because no longer was she going to be the star in this friendship. I was going to be the biggest star in the industry, and that's not what she was brought up to believe. She was brought up to believe that it is her birthright, no matter what. It doesn't matter if she didn't grow up obsessing about this. It doesn't matter if she left her home at 15 to go in search of this thing that she loves. No, she was born into this business, so she deserves to be a star. She deserves to have everything just thrown at her feet. And when I was coming up, even though I was there for her, happy for her, whenever she got all of her successes, all of her opportunities, it couldn't be reciprocated, because that wasn't the dynamic that she was accustomed to. She was a star. She couldn't handle it when my stuff went through the roof.
Yeah, and obviously a lot has changed. And you're talking about SummerSlam 2018, right? Not the most recent SummerSlam where you came back.
I'm talking about 2018.
Okay. I was just getting a little confused because I know you just came back at this SummerSlam too. But yeah. A lot has changed over the last couple of years.
Many SummerSlams.
A lot of SummerSlams you've been a part of. Survivor Series too. And just talking about that, I mean, obviously you guys have been friends on screen, foes on screen, behind the scenes, stuff like that for years now. Is that a bridge you'd be open to being rebuilt at some point down the road? Or is it, you think there's no chance of that with where you guys are in your, respective careers and who you are as people, so on and so forth?
I don't look, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I think there'd be a lot that would need to be talked about, and a lot that would need to be discussed. And honestly, I don't think we could be in this business anymore. I feel like while we're in this industry, she's gonna be jealous of me, and I'm not gonna like the way that she does business. So I don't know that it can be repaired while we're both still wrestling.
Yeah, and it just so happens as it right now, you're on Raw, she's on SmackDown. This is the only event for the foreseeable future. You guys will be on the same show, so that's going to make that match on Sunday that much more exciting. But speaking of that match, what I love about the build up to this match on Sunday is that it feels so reminiscent of a lot of the storylines that we've seen you a part of on WWE TV in recent years, but specifically the Ronda match from WrestleMania 35, where not only what we're seeing on screen, but the back and forth on social media too. It's fantastic, specifically with your banter and responding to stuff that she said and the gender backlash or whatever she was talking about in the interview a few days ago. Can you talk a little bit about that and adding a different layer to what we've seen on TV with what you've been able to do on social media as well? Because it's been fantastic.
Sorry, what was the question there?
Sorry about that. Just adding like an extra layer to the bad blood between you and Charlotte on screen with what we've seen on social media as well.
Yeah. I mean, we have a live microphone on us 24/7, and sometimes it can be used for bad, and then sometimes it can be used to hype something and show more disdain when we're coming to a big match. And so I ironically hate social media. I think it's stupid, but I think it has a purpose, and that purpose can be used for our work. I don't think people need to see me brushing my teeth in the morning, but I think people can know how I feel about an opponent and my stories going forward there.
No, it's awesome. And I think the extra, like you said, social media definitely has its pros and cons, but you have a lot of fans on social media that follow what you do. So it definitely goes both ways. But with that being said, you kind of mentioned it there, but how has your approach to Twitter changed during your time on top specifically? Because you've had a lot of back and forth with, various top stars, and it's added to the stuff that we've seen on screen. Do you hate Twitter even more now than you did 2 years ago? I mean, obviously you were off Twitter for a while you took time off being a mother and whatnot. How has your approach to Twitter and social media changed in the last couple of years or so?
Yeah. So you made a good point about how you can interact with fans and how fans can follow you, and I think that's awesome. That is great. And so, but one thing that I think that we see with social media is look, I like to use it for wrestling purposes and to further a storyline. I think there's just so much for people's mental health. I think it can be bad. I think it can be detrimental. I think people compare themselves to each other. I think it gives people an outlet to be constantly angry about things, and I don't think that's good for the world, right? So that's Rebecca Quinn's philosophy on social media, is that sometimes it can be detrimental to the world. It can also be detrimental to entertainment, because sometimes we don't wait to see what's going to happen in, say, a show or whatever. We're already telling the world how bad it is.
Yeah,
during the first scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like, we don't watch a movie and go, well, this scene makes no sense. I'm turning this off. You wait to see what happens at the end of the movie, so that the whole movie makes sense. And so I think sometimes social media can be detrimental. It can also be great. It can also like about how much they liked me, and it sent me forward. But I think now that I look at everything from the eyes of being a parent, it's worrying, because I think people growing up, and there's likes and there's dislikes and or there's not dislikes, but there's likes and comparing themselves to other people, and constantly. And I think that can be bad for young people and growing up in their mindset on the world. So anyway, I could talk about this stuff for hours, and I would go in circles, and I would go back and forth and whatever. And it wouldn't make a very interesting interview, which it probably isn't right now. So I apologize.
No. It most definitely is. And I think it's super timely too, especially like there's a lot of mental health talk going on now, even more, probably now more than ever. So I love that you brought that up. And I think a lot of people can take a lot away from that, positively speaking, which is cool. But totally unrelated, but you mentioned movies and stuff like that. And I was going to ask you a little bit later on, but while you're on the subject, we've seen you in certain shows. You're on that Billion show, the HBO show a couple of years ago, which was great to see. What are your current acting aspirations beyond the ring? If you get more opportunities, getting stuff like that, any aspirations of doing more beyond wrestling in the acting world at some point?
Yeah, look, performance is that's what I studied in college. It's what I got my degree in.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I love. And specifically, I studied theater, which is what I adore. It's a hidden passion of mine. And we're currently in New York, and if time would have allowed, I would have loved to have gone and see some shows. So performance is what I always want to do, and there's a few things coming up and happening that I'm excited about, and they get moved around and stuff. So we'll take it as it comes. We'll let that all reveal itself in time.
I think everyone was convinced on Twitter that you were part of the most recent Black Panther Wakanda Forever taping or whatever. They saw someone that looked like you on set, which was crazy.
Yeah, which was crazy until you saw that she actually didn't look anything like me, but she did have braids.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was dressed in black and she had braids. So I don't think redheaded, but yeah.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Are you a Marvel fan at all? Is that something that you would like to see at some point, being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I know Seth, your husband, has shown interest in Marvel characters and with the outfits on screen and whatever. I think it'd be a perfect fit for the MCU at some point.
Yeah. I'm a big Marvel fan. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, on an unrelated note, going forward, a friend of mine, Juliana, she wanted to know, she's a big fan of yours, and she wanted to know how you've been balancing being a mother and a wrestler over the last couple of months since being back at SummerSlam.
Been wild, man. I balancing it quite well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I bring her everywhere with me, which is sometimes both exhausting but extremely rewarding. Like even now, I'm on my way to do another interview, so I left her, and it's always so hard to leave her. So, and the fact that I can bring her everywhere with me is awesome, and I'm so lucky that I'm able to do that. It often means less sleep, but as long as she's getting enough sleep, that's fine. That's why I have coffee, and now I'm drinking more coffee, and it's great because I love coffee, so I'll take any excuse. But yeah, no, I find it way more rewarding. I find that that also I don't let the small stuff fester as long, because instead of thinking about, oh, well, this didn't go right, or I wanted this to be better, he's looking at me going, ma, and it's the best thing in the world.
And it's fantastic to see too. You do such a great job of it, like you said, balancing it out. And it's not like your work on screen has suffered at all. You're obviously still killing it, doing some of the best work of your career right now. So with that being said, since you've been back in the last 3 months, is there any one, performance, match, promo, segment that you've been most proud of in the last 3 months since you've been back?
Well, gosh, I think I'm actually really proud of all the matches I've had since coming back. Mostly because hell, I hadn't wrestled in a year and a half, and I thought they've all been quite good. And there's always that doubt, that insecurity. Have I lost a step? All these girls are amazing. They're super athletes. Am I going to be able to keep up? And I was working real hard when I was gone, but still, being in front of a crowd, and with people that you haven't worked with before, it's a different kettle of fish. So I'm real proud of all the matches that I have, and I think I'm most proud of the promo I did on Monday, because there was a lot going on there, and I wanted to bring the audience on a ride, and I believe that I did that.
Yeah, it definitely sold people on the pay-per-view, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, most definitely. Every match that you've had since you've been back has been unique and in a different way, working with a variety of opponents. Like you said, fresh faces, now Liv, formerly Bianca. Someone else wanted to know as well, the Bianca feud overall, your thoughts on it, how it kind of turned out, because the matches were great. The story was really well crafted. Kind of felt like with the last match you guys had, the door was open for maybe future matches down the road, maybe at WrestleMania. I just want to get your thoughts on how, now that we're in the rear view of it, your thoughts on the Bianca story overall.
I was trying to get away from her, man. I was trying to get away from her. I wanted to beat her and then not let her near me until maybe I'd be generous enough to let her step in the ring with big time Becky at WrestleMania, and then give her a title shot. And I think that would have been spectacular because I think the audience would have really, really, really wanted to see her then beat the bejesus out of me, and then I'd beat her, and make them go home very unhappy. But we can always get back there. Like you said, there's the door is always open. Like, she's an incredible athlete, an original, and once I beat up Liv Morgan here in a little bit, once I beat up Charlotte Flair, once I beat up the entire rest of the roster, let's see how she's doing then, and maybe the door will be open at WrestleMania.
Yeah, we're still a couple of months away. Tickets just went on sale actually this past week for WrestleMania 38. And the answer, obviously, most of the time is as far as who your ideal opponent is for the show, whoever the champion is. But you're the current Raw Women's Champion. We anticipate you being the champion through the next couple of months. Do you have a name in mind for someone that you would love to face on a WrestleMania stage for WrestleMania 38?
I mean, look, God, there's such a wealth of talent, especially on the Raw roster. A lot of young, new, hungry talent. I could just go through. I could go through the list of everyone, but we have Liv Morgan, who's building momentum. Whose momentum I'm going to crush here in a little bit. But we have Liv Morgan, who's building momentum. We have Bianca Belair, who, like we have seen, is a fantastic athlete. But of course, can't outsmart me. I'm big time Becky. We have Rhea Ripley, a powerhouse. We have Tegan Knox, who we haven't seen very much of since coming to Raw and recently. So we have a lot of people. And then, of course, there's always, is Ronda Rousey going to be chomping at the bit to get back now that she sees what I've accomplished? Maybe she's going to want to try and accomplish the same. Maybe she's going to want to try get retribution on that loss at WrestleMania at 35. The same loss that's caused me to be champion ever since. So maybe there's a lot of options. Maybe Bayley will come back. Maybe Asuka will come back. I could go on and on. I think for me, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, possibilities are endless. And Becky, last question for you before I let you go. Talking about all the stuff that you've accomplished, main eventing WrestleMania 35, main eventing Survivor Series even 2 years ago, and everything else in between. What do you see being next for the women's evolution? What would you like to see next for the women's division in WWE?
Consistency. So what I'm excited about is that we're going to get to a point where it's no longer the first this, the first that, because we've done it all and we're just consistently killing the game, which is where we're getting to. And even Hell in a Cell this year had more women's matches than pick up on it, because of course there was just so many good women's stories, and so I'm excited for that to continue to where the point where gender isn't the issue. Maybe sometimes there's only going to be one men's match on a Raw or whatever, but it just doesn't matter. We're just telling great stories and we're having great matches.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to. But before then, obviously, Survivor Series on Sunday, November 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Peacock. People can check it out there. Becky, you're going to be facing Charlotte Flair, Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, Clash of the Champions. It's going to be awesome. Becky, this has been so much fun. I appreciate your time here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.